I'm Bernie. This is
Gus.
Gus. And, you know, it's a little secret of hosting this show is that when certain titles come up, we argue over who gets to host that particular segment.
We won.
Yeah, we won. We won. Sorry. Yeah, I know. You talked about it all weekend, but sorry about
You
that.
can have a little seat if you want.
Yeah, you want to join us?
Yeah, let's
Tiny
go.
Heiny on the couch?
So I got really excited right now. Actually, we should introduce our guest. It's Michael. I'm going to butcher your last name. DePlotter?
Yes.
VP Creative at Monolith Studios. I got really excited right now because we were watching the interstitial, and I looked over my shoulder, and I realized what I saw.
Yep.
I didn't know that we were going to actually have a live demo here.
Yeah, we're having a live demo.
Of,
Yep.
of the
We've got
game.
Evan. Hello, Evan.
But
Hi, Evan.
Evan's off camera. He's just
You're
play the
doing
game.
it, man.
Just play the game, Evan.
I
Let
just
us
want to
see it.
say that Shadow of Mordor we absolutely loved. When we had our end of the year wrap up for the Rushi podcast, I was pushing for it hard for Game of the Year. I had a blast doing it. And there's so many mechanics in the game that I normally don't respond to. Like streaks and things like that is not something that they make me anxious. But in Shadow of Mordor, I absolutely loved mowing through a crowd of orcs. And like, where's the next one? Where's the next one? You know, to get a streak.
It was so beautiful to like learn the layout of an orc stronghold and learn how to use that environment entirely to your advantage. And just the first time I got a streak over 100, I felt like a god. Right? I felt like a god.
You're like unstoppable. So, and of course, the introduction of the Nemesis system was just so crazy innovative. It was just such an amazing addition to a game. I'm surprised every game doesn't have it now.
Well, it's a
like such
gameplay mechanic
a crucial
I
thing.
didn't know I wanted because you gamified revenge, and I didn't know I wanted to experience revenge in a video game.
I think people knew they wanted it in multiplayer.
Right.
So it's really, which is where people generally tend to have their strongest relationships and their deepest hatreds and their greatest feelings of vengeance and building that up. So it was really, how can we take that and make those, real world type relationships with real people, and how can we make your AI enemies in a game hit those same emotional buttons and weave it into the story.
And it worked so well because I made bad decisions as a player, even when I knew how to play the game. Like later in the game, if an orc or an uruk had killed me twice, and I finally caught up to him again, and then I get him down, and Celebrimbor's like, "Hey, we can recruit him to our side." I'm like, "No, let's just stab him in the face."
Not needed. Thank you very much.
So, I mean, what have you done to build on that between Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War?
Oh wow, these guys are fighting it out in the pit fight here. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So much. So those sort of stories of making you love to hate these enemies. Ooh,
Brutal.
Sorry. Live. So this guy who's just won in the pit fight there, he's going to level up. So now that's just one example of ways in which you can have your followers and you can train them and grow them and manipulate them, or even take two of your own followers and kind of pit them in a battle to the death against each other. So whoever wins is going to come out stronger. So the variety and leveling and traits and personalities and stories of all the orcs has just expanded.
Yeah, because
massively.
this is sort of the flip side of the Nemesis system. We are now with Shadow of War really building up these commanders in this army. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing with these commanders.
Yeah, so two things that we wanted to take much, much further than Shadow of Mordor. One was building up your army, so the ability to dominate these really diverse characters and then still have them retain all of their personality and identity and still create stories with you. So now you can slot them as bodyguards, you can summon them in, they'll try and save you. Sometimes they'll betray you if you leave them to die, if you go and fight against one of their blood brothers and that's who they were sworn to protect, they'll turn on you. Ooh. So we get all of these new stories out of our followers, but we also wanted to give you a much more epic and meaningful goals for what to do when you actually do build that army. So now you can take that army and conquer these epic fortresses. We can have these huge Helm's Deep, Return of the King battles.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And then use those commanders to defend and upgrade your fortresses to then defend against counterattacks. So, the goals in building your army are a lot stronger, as well as the stories and personalities that you meet along the way.
It's such a huge expansion of that system.
I love that beautiful gliding flip double jump we just saw.
Well, because the world is so much bigger and there's so much more verticality, we had to really go back and review all of the movement. So we've invented this incredible innovation in video games. You can now double jump.
Tell me more.
So if you're jumping and you're in the air, you can press the button and jump again. It's amazing. We think everyone's going to be doing it. Yeah. So that's thanks to the power of the Wraith and Celebrimbor, but actually, everywhere through the movement. So Celebrimbor can give boosts to your movement and speed. We had that as you were running around before.
Right.
But now as you're climbing up every building, you can do that. So Evan just hovered in the air, because again, it's compulsory for every video game with a bow to now let you hover in the air.
Yeah.
But from that, you can actually shadow strike and use that to increase your mobility and kind of strike down to the ground in the middle of your enemies. Oh, the hairy.
Oh, I love that.
That's my nickname.
He was attempting to draw out a war chief, but so did he was able to draw out the war chief with the massacre?
I don't know if he has yet, because I was talking about double jump, but he did get ambushed by the hairy there within this outpost as well. So he hasn't actually drawn out the war chief who's in charge of this outpost yet. He's got to kill 20 of these enemies.
And if you've never played the series before, there are some really great moments of like that little kind of in-game miniature cutscene that takes place when you run in to a named character. And I love those moments, because it's like, it almost reminds you like two guys outside of a bar, fronting off, taking their shirts off and going, you throw the first punch. I just love those moments, especially when you locate someone in the world that you've been hunting for.
Right.
And so many more of those moments now. Like, we've expanded the personalities of these guys. I didn't get to hear what the hairy had to say, but I'm sure it was something appropriately hairy. And the context in which they will jump out. So if he's a tracker, it's probably because he's been hunting you across Mordor. If it's a marksman, he's somewhere sniping at you. If it's someone who's cheated death and is hunting you, he's going to be speaking to revenge. So
I love that trash talk. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just random trash talk. It's really going to relate to your personal story and relationship.
Haunted?
Oh yeah, that's he has a particular hatred of the Wraith that's inside you, of Celebrimbor. So
is the main character still Talion and Celebrimbor?
yeah. So Talion and Celebrimbor united and bound together and using the power of the ring. So we definitely have more of a dynamic between those two characters, and also Celebrimbor as a character now manifests more. He enables you to bring into battle the spear in combat, which is, you guys were talking before about mowing through large armies. Now you've got this weapon that can do these sweeping attacks and combos to just carve through these grunts.
Yeah.
And
So that's like
also
your
his
spirit
hammer.
bow. That is connected to Celebrimbor.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to Lord of the Rings nerd out for a sec, it's Aeglos. So it was the spear of Gil-galad that he left on the sides of Mount Doom when he was incinerated by Sauron. So
Well, you win the bet, Gus. You said it was Aeglos.
What's that? Yeah, good job. But I have to say, too, one thing else about this franchise, obviously you're stepping into a lore that is very beloved by many, many people. And the story that you wrote was one that I was not familiar with Shadow of Mordor, telling the story of, Celebrimbor and the forging of the ring. That must have been a huge challenge to, step in for the writers and try to write another chapter of this.
yeah, it's so exciting. It's striking that balance of telling an epic standalone story that has its own stakes but fits within the known lore, and also brings in relatively unknown but fairly important parts of the lore, like Celebrimbor and his role in forging the rings, and the background of Sauron as a villain. And we've really tried to outdo ourselves again in that way this time. And a big area of focus is around the Nazgul and the Ring Wraiths and their history and their connection to the Rings of Power, which of course is also a connection to Celebrimbor because he forged those rings, which were given to them. So kind of tying all these things together in a way that you can really be learning something sort of fresh and exciting in our story that also kind of docks into the known story of Lord of the Rings and lets you look at that in a new way as well.
Does
Tell
every
me about
writer have to have a copy of the Silmarillion on their desk, constant reference?
Technically, we have the rights to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and the appendices,
Gotcha.
not the Silmarillion, but they, definitely need that.
I wanted to quickly talk about some of the character traits that we're seeing with these orcs. We're seeing things like Warmonger. We're seeing things like Dark. Tell me about some of these traits that they have.
So they have a whole host of different types of traits. So we have the different orc tribes, which represents their culture and sort of the orc society. So the warmongers, for example, are really obsessed with sort of training and one-on-one combat and getting in there. Often have gangs and so on. They like to get up close and fight one-to-one. They have these gauntlets that can lock your weapon in place. Oh, go wrong quick.
Wow, is that one of your?
Yeah, that's another great example. So Dark Slayer. So he's from the Dark tribe. They're really fanatical worshippers of whoever it is faction side that they're on, whether it's the Dark Lord or the Bright Lord, and they also have these basically sacrificial daggers that he was able to just use then to take the head off his rival. So they have fatalities and brutalities.
And it's amazing to see these, like, your commanders and their commanders in these strongholds now fighting alongside you as you're trying to complete these objectives.
And the infighting is so much more of a part of the game. Like, we really in Shadow of Mordor were able to focus on making, on how do these orcs fight against you and build the combat system around that. But now we've really considered how does the infighting of all of these different classes work against each other. So, what happens when a marksman is against a combat master and so on, and all of those duels. So picking your army and optimizing who your bodyguard is depending on who you're going in against can make a real difference. So if you're facing someone with a fear of poison, then slotting someone who's got a poisoned weapon is going to be a really good choice. So the tactical element of the game is expanded a lot.
The intel becomes so much more important now.
Yep.
I loved playing into those fears in the first game and watching people watching orcs get scared and run away.
Yes.
So you've talking about so many improvements and so many new features. Like, is there one that stands out to you? Like, this is your new favorite thing in the game?
I'm going to sort of cheat on that answer. That genuinely, my favorite thing is whenever we play test the game, which we're doing, constantly and on a pretty massive scale, and the question comes in, and it's, "What's your favorite or what's your most memorable thing?"
Oh,
That's my favorite now.
That's my new favorite.
yeah, that's it. No, he swapped his armor out before he did that.
That was Celebrimbor popping out to kind of.
No, but
In the inventory system.
Oh,
we did.
yes.
Yeah.
But it looked like he was choosing between different armor class types.
Yeah, so you can customize. There's the visual differences to your armor, and there's also the statistical differences. One of the favorite things about the armor now is that, so for example, we can see this gold upgrade for the ring here. Is that when you have epic or legendary enemies, and after you've killed them, you get this epic gear, there'll be a challenge on that, which will relate to the sort of, I guess, identity or personality of whoever you defeated. So if it was Ronk the Hairy and he's from the Feral tribe, you'll probably get a challenge about hunting down and killing beasts. And then when you do that, it'll unlock an additional trait, which might make your mount more powerful. But it also unlocks a little quote that's going to immortalize that particular orc or olog who died. So your gear system actually becomes this kind of wall of remembrance for all these personal stories you've created.
Great.
Sorry, I was just going to super quick get back to, my favorite thing is we ask 20 people what their favorite thing is and we get 20 answers.
Oh, that's
Is it riding drakes? Is it, massive epic fort battles? Is it some memorable orc that they had? Is it, it's the gear system? There's just so much variety in the game. It's cool.
The spear, I mean, because it is from Celebrimbor, just like your spirit bow, I would imagine that's something that you can only use in a limited fashion, or can you bring that out at all times?
You can bring that out at all times because, fortunately, Celebrimbor is a part of you, and he's key to your sort of death and resurrection at all times as well.
But it's not something where, like, the spirit bow, where you had to, like, kind of refill that meter.
No,
okay.
It is just, it's basically it's a heavy attack on X, so if you hold down X to charge it up, and then you can double charge it and you can unleash combos as well.
Oh, is that a double charge there?
Yep.
Oh, I love that. Look at that.
Yeah.
So if you can help me understand something too about the Nemesis system, when we see the lineup there of all the orcs, I see a lot of them have blue circles around them and some with red circles. So they all still start off as enemies, and some of them are undiscovered as well still?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So in that sense, it's the same. And Mordor is always alive, so you're always going to have new kind of orcs or ologs getting introduced into the hierarchy, and you still have the intel. So if you can either grab intel maybe from an enemy war tent or interrogating a worm, then that's going to give you the intel you need to go and take these guys down.
I do want to point out we got a poll running right now. You can vote if you want at live@e3.com. We're asking our viewers right now, what is the best new feature in Shadow of War? And right now, building your army has a commanding lead.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So we're about to go into one of these larger battles that you were talking about. I'm so excited about these.
Yeah, so Evan just went, not only I think, dominated follower, but also upgraded one in the pit, so you can choose your army, and then for every assault leader that you're bringing in as part of your army, you can also bring in an associated upgrade. So sappers, the guys he's bringing, these are bombers, like the guy the Battle of Helm's Deep that kind of detonated
Right on the
the
middle.
deeping wall there. You can also bring in artillery. You can bring in drakes. So he's just checking and what we're going to be facing.
And you've got
on the enemy
all these
fortress
slots
side.
that you can upgrade to and unlock. So this all gets bigger as you go.
Yes, and then even so, we can bring in 4 assault leaders here. But as your army grows, you can bring in 5 or 6, and that's letting you bring in even more upgrades here. So these battles can get pretty intense. But you can go the other way as well, and if you want to invest the time and infiltrate and plant spies and have the enemy war chiefs be on your side, you could literally just, you know, stroll in and have them basically just clear the way from you.
Open the gates for you.
And you can go to the other extreme and just about one-man army and try and do it all by yourself, and then it's just going to be ridiculously
I do love the feeling of that. I
challenging.
do love the feeling of clearing out a stronghold all on my own, man. Just kind of like sauntering in and being like, okay, set off the alarm. Go ahead, run. Set off the alarm.
It's
'cause here we
combo
go.
time.
Yeah.
You know, and you've touched so far in the series, you've touched on humans, orcs, elves. Any plans to expand into other races of the? I mean, there's a dwarf
We had
hunter
the
as well in the
dwarf
first
hunter,
one.
yeah.
Well, the hobbits and things like that.
We have 1 hobbit if you count Gollum.
Oh, right,
in the
good
first
point.
game.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
Diplomatic answer.
the big one here that we've added is the Olog High as well. So we had the Urukai, so kind of the elite orcs, and now we have the same for the trolls.
Mug the Biter.
Oh,
they've muzzled
love
him.
it.
I wonder what he does. So I want to talk a little bit about something we saw much earlier when you had the followers fighting each other. Was that just to, like, what was the point of that? Was it to, like, strengthen some of your followers?
Yeah, it's
so you run, like, your own orc fight club?
Yeah, it's a deadly fusion mechanic. You know, you've got 2 orcs or followers. You want one to make one stronger. You want to turn the other one into loot or gear. You can basically fuse them together, and the guy who comes out of that and survives is going to be stronger and can even earn different titles as well.
Oh, ooh, so walk us through this here. We've sent in our four squads. We're going into sort of a tactical view now.
Yep, and so the reason actually Evan's in that view, he's actually mounted on this siege beast, which is he's taken over the enemy artillery, and he's using that to also destroy the other one. And the first objective is to take this first victory point at A, and so the enemies are going to be defending that. And our allies have charged through. Douche the unclean. Sorry. Is fleeing in horror. At his own.
Yeah. So when we're doing this, when we're capturing the siege beast, when we're trying to get these control points, what are our squads doing, and how much control do we have over our commanders at that point?
So you're not giving moment-to-moment orders. It's, you know, very much an action game in that moment. So they're going to do their best to go in order and attack and occupy these various victory points, depending on whatever their abilities are. If they're mounted, they're going to be climbing over the walls. If they're Ologs, they're going to be trying to smash the gates down and so on. You can give some really light commands, you know, via the D-pad of summoning guys, and also you can bring your bodyguards in, but we really want to keep it very much, it's a third-person action game rather than any sort of.
So it's very much
tactical.
like a very quick order on the battlefield, like to me, protect me, go like aggressive, like that sort of thing.
Not even to that level. You know, that really comes in, the tactics element comes in preparing your army and selecting your soldiers, you know, before the battle starts.
Gotcha. So knowing the layout of the stronghold and knowing what kind of guys you're going to need to take it over.
Yep, the strengths and weaknesses of the guys that you're going to be facing.
So I've got a question here on Twitter. I have no idea how to pronounce this. Aguine9 is asking,
Nailed it.
is the army building compulsory, or can you go through the game without it?
A certain level of it you're going to need to do, because we want to introduce you to how the feature works. We want to introduce you to all of those systems. Once you've done that, then you can be as detailed or as light as you want to be. I mean, generally,
I think
find that it's super fun. So, you know, whenever we test.
It seems like the kind of thing that's just going to suck me in, and that's going to be the game for me.
Yep.
It's just trying to build out this army and do everything I could with it.
Yeah, and then, you know, whatever goals you want to set for yourself. So maybe you want to build an army of all Ologs, or all guys with fire weapons, or all assassins, or, you know, some other, or guys who are all deranged, or
I love
whatever.
it. Just like a crazy orc army. Just whatever traits you want. It's unbelievable. And so, Mike, I didn't see a dragon there.
Oh,
I didn't see it. Like I'm calling it out. I didn't see a dragon.
So if you got 20 more minutes, we can get a dragon.
We can work our
Get a
way up to
Drake.
it.
Yeah.
Well, that'll leave
We've
the
had,
players
like-
something that they can
Yeah,
do on their
yeah.
own when the game comes out.
Yeah, they're fun.
Well, when can people get their hands on Shadow of War?
It is 10/10, so it's October the 10th this year.
And what platforms can they play it on?
They can play it on, Xbox, PlayStation 4, PC, the whole lot.
You name it.
You got them covered.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join
Thank
us.
you.
Love the
we're
franchise.
all huge fans.
Thanks a lot.
And we're
Cheers.
excited to see the game when it finally comes out.
Thanks a lot.